Hi, welcome to another tutorial from Blender Insight, and this time I'm going to do a real deep dive into drivers. So what is a driver? Well, a driver is something that can take a value from some part of Blender and drive some other part of Blender with that value. So different parts of Blender can communicate with each other, like the scale of this plane can tell my material that I should change the color, for instance, or the position, or something else. And I will show you how all of this works. So first of all, I just add something here before you get bored of the explanation. So I press Shift A, go Input, select the value. And then I would like to change this from red to blue, and that I can do with the color mix. So I press Shift A, Color, Mix Color, and I can take the value to the factor, the result to the base color, and change the A to like red. So I just click on the A and change this to red, and I can do the same with B. So I just click on that one, but I change this to blue, so we have two different colors. And now if I have a value of 0, you get red, and if I have a value of 1, you get blue. So that is how it works, but I don't want to go into the shader editor every time to change this. I would like to change it outside of the shader editor. And one way to do it is to add a custom property. So you add another information that you then can change outside. And you can do that when it comes to drivers, wherever you want. In this case, I do it in material, but I will change and do some other things later on, so you can see that it's very flexible. But we start here, and I just press new, and then I get this material, get this property here, and I go to the cogwheel and change some information. So instead of prop, I would like to call this color change. So I have color change here. Default should be 0, and the min should be 0, and the max should be 1, and that is okay, because now we have a value that goes from 0 to 1. So we just press OK. Now I would like to have this information into the value up here, and that we can do in different ways. The easiest way when we have it like this is just to right click, and you can then see here that we have a lot of information, but one of those is copy as new driver, and that we can use. So we just click on copy as new driver. Nothing happened yet, but we have something in memory. So when we go to the value and right click here, we can then select paste driver. And now everything got blue here, we got a value of 1, and if I change the color change here, you can see it changes here as well. So if I put this to 0, we get red, and if I put it to 1, we get blue. So how does this work now? Well, we can right click on that, and we can select edit driver. And if I select edit driver, I get this little window here, and right now this is something that was created by Blender when we created this, or we selected this copy of a driver. But we can do it manually as well. I can just explain what it has here. The user interface is a little bit bad when it comes to driver. As soon as the cursor leaves the driver, it closes. So then you have to go in again, as I do now, and select edit driver. So there we have it. And now I will try to be inside this little square. So we have different types. And when it created this automatically, it selected average value. And it works because we only have one value, so it will be the same as average value. But you also have some values, scripted expression, minimum value, maximum value. In most cases, when you create something by yourself later on, then you will use scripted expression, because that will give you more flexibility to create a math formula that you would like to use. Okay, then we have an input variable, and they have created one for us that's called color change. And here is a strange thing, and that is the type that you can select for the driver. And in this case, it's a single property, meaning it's a single value from something. So it could be almost everything. In our case, it was a custom property, but it could be some built-in property as well that we are using. So a single value that we can use. But we also have transform channel, and that is when you would like to get information of the position, the rotation, the scale, and so on from an object. Then transform channel is the place to go. And you have a different thing, but it's almost the same with where you have the rotational difference. That is, if you have two objects, you can then see the difference in rotation between those two objects. And the distance work exactly the same way. So if you have two objects, you can get the distance between two objects. And finally, you have context property, and that is the same as single property, but it's only active for a certain scene or a certain viewport. So these are really vital to know, but can be a bit hard to handle if you don't know how they work. So we will go through everything later on. But okay, so automatically it selected a color change as name from the custom property. Then we got something called prop, and here you can select a lot of stuff. So as I said, everything will discuss with everything here. So you have to tell this driver, okay, where should I get the information from? And in this case, I will get information from a custom property that resides in the material. So I select material in this case. I also tell the driver which material I'm using. In this case, it's material 001, which we can see on the top of the screen here. In this, we use something called a path. And path is not so well explained. It just says data path, RNA path from ID block to property used. And if you're not a really tech guy, it could be really hard to understand that. But just here, it's just the name in brackets like this. So we have a bracket, then we have this little sign here, and then a name, and then we end it with a bracket here. And that is the recognition of the ID. Whatever you put in here will then be what it searches for. So now it searches for the custom property in the material that is called color change. Fallback here, if you check that, you can add a value that should be working if you can't get anything from the color change. And here you have a preview of the value. So that is how it works. It's rather simple. Now we will build our own that works in the same way. So to do that, we can press Shift A, input a value again. And right now we can just right click and say add driver here. So now I will create something with the scripted expression instead. And the expression will like to have the result as the beginning. And right now we have something called VRR, and that is just the name portion here for the variable, but we can change it to whatever we want. Right now everything is red, meaning that we have not finished, and we have some error, and we can see it's error here. So we need to change that. I think we could use the name color change as well, and we can go not to transform channel, but we can use single property as we used before. So we select a single property, and we change this to color change like this. Now we can tell it should be from material as we learned, and it should be material 001. And now we need to add a path, and we can do as I showed before. So we can put in this like this and then write color change, which is the name of my custom property like this. And if I now press update dependencies, we still have error because we need to add that name into the expression here. So if I put color change here like this and now press update dependency, you can see that the error goes away and the value will be the same as we have in color change. Another way to get the path here that is to right click here on the path and select copy data path. So if you select copy data path, and we can go to edit driver here again and go down here and then press Ctrl V to paste it in, you can see we get exactly the same value, because if you don't know what to write, just right click on that property and then select copy data path, and you will get the name like this, and everything is fine. So if we want to, we can use this as well, and we change down here, and if we try to change it up here, you will get some error that says that you can't change this, can't edit Raven number value, C driver editor, and so on. So you get an error here. So you need to get information from the outside. So that is how you create a value. Now I would like this to be moving between red and blue, and then I just can use some other information. I can use this timeline here and use the frames from the timeline to make it go up and down, and like a sine curve, so I just add some math into this and so on. So I will do that. So I right click on my driver, select edit driver, and now I will change a few things here. I'm not interested in color change anymore. I would like to use something else here. So I use frame like this, because frame is the command to get the frame that we have here in the timeline. Then I would like to use the sign, use small letters here, because if you use big letters it will not understand. I will use the sign for the frame, and if I press update dependencies, you can see that something happened here, and if I now press, it goes between red and blue. Now we also have a negative value, as you can see sometimes on this value here. Not sure if I can stop it perfectly, but yes, here we have negative value. I would like to take that away, so we have between 0 and 1. So then I just click edit drive again, and then I can go up here and add an absolute. So abs like this, put that in. I can also take away this variable because I don't need it anymore. So I can press here and then update, and everything should be fine now. And when I go here, you can see we only have positive values, but it goes between red and blue. Really, really fast. I would like it to go slower. Well, just add more math. So then I go to my scripted, and I say that I will use the frame, but divide it by 10, for instance, like this. And update my dependencies again, and when I'm running, it goes much slower. So here you can create your own mathematical formula to create something for the material here. Now I would like to make something a little bit more advanced, so you can see how we can use this in more complex cases. Because what we can do with the driver is also that we can add conditions. We can say if something is true, then you should do like this, but if it's not true, then you should do like this. So what I would like to do is building an elevator out of this. So we can just take away the plane. I will also hide my camera because it's just in the way. And then I instead will use the default cube. So I will press Shift A, mesh, and have a cube here. That will be my elevator. I will put it up a bit, so GZ1, so we have it up here. And I would also like to be the origo on the bottom here, so I can just go to Object and set Origin to 3D cursor, and then it should be in the bottom. Then I press Tab just to go out a bit here and change things, so press 3, and that is to select the faces and move that up a bit so we get an elevator that looks more like an elevator. So we can also take away this first face here by pressing delete and then just select the faces. So here you will be when you are running the elevator. Very nice elevator in my own opinion. So I just press Tab now. I'm very satisfied with this elevator. And now I would like this to move up and down. So to make it move up and down, I could select some new custom properties that I would like to use for this elevator here, and I could use the object for controlling it. So I can go to the object here, go to custom properties and add some new properties. And it could be that you have some properties already. That depends on what type of add-ons you have in Blender. So it could be that you have 5, 6 of these, but normally they're just gray here. But you just press new and doesn't care so much about that. And here we can add new information. And what I would like to do is to move this up and down because I put in a value here. So if I put in a value of 1, I would like it to go up 1 floor. If I put it to 0, it should be the ground floor, and so on. So I just go into my cogwheel and change this to an integer, because I would like to go to 1 floor, not between a floor. And property could be level, for instance, like this. Default should be like 0, and we can have like 10 floors in total, so between 0 and 9, like this. Okay, then we have that, and with this we can then use this level to control the movement on this. But what is it that we should control? That is the height. So we should change the height of this, and that we can do by just selecting this and go to item here and change the location, because if we change the location it goes up and down here. So in the location here we create a driver, and then we can use this value to control what this should be. So if it's 1 it should be on 1, and if it's 2 it should be 2, and so on. So right click, add driver, it should be scripted expression, and we have an input variable that we have as transform channel, and we can use transform channel because we would like to know what position the Z has right now. So if I go back here, edit driver, then we keep that. We can change it to Z pos, so we know that, and we say that this is our cube that we're talking about, and we change the X location to the Z location. So now we have that in here, and we have a preview that says that this cube is now on value 0. Really good. And here we can add the result, and the result we would like to have is the Z pos like this, but not just the Z pos. What we would like to have is also the level. So we have level 1, or we have level 0, or something like that, and then we would like this elevator to move for that as well. So go to edit driver, and how we should put that in is by adding another input variable. So now we have 2, and this should be a level. And right now, as you can see, we have a single property, fine. We can use object, and we use the object cube. And path should be, as we now know, like this. So we add this bracket and this, and then we write level because that is the name, and we add an end bracket like this. And now you can see it says 1 here because we have level 1 here. And then I have to go back again. I really hate this, but this is how the user interface works. So we can say that the Z position should be the level. So we don't need a Z position, not yet anyway. We just do like this, update dependencies, and it moves up. So if I put this to level 3, the elevator is now on level 3. Really nice like this. But one thing that I notice a lot of things, but in this case, it would be really hard to transform yourself from level 0 to level 1, because it will just be instant and you will just hit the ground or the roof here when it goes up and down. So it's not so good. We need to change that. It's also so that when you go to level 1, you only go 1 meter up, and this is way higher. So we should have something that explain the height that we should use here. So we can add a new custom property for the height for each floor, so we know that. So we just add new here, and we change this to floor height. So I click the cog here and say that that can be a float, but we can call this F height. We know that this is the floor height, and we can say default should be like 4 meters. It could be everything from like 3 meters to 10 meters, for instance, depending on what building it is. So then we have that minimum 3 meters. Now it should work. So now we have that. We call it F height. Good to know, because then we can use that and just put in a value of 4 like this. So F height is 4 and level is 1. Good. Then we add that into this. So if I press edit driver, now we already have a set position, we have the level. Now we need the height as well, so we add an input variable to this, and we change this to F height, so then we know it. And the property will be the object as it is, but it will also be in the cube, and this time it's called F height. So then we can write F height here and put it like this. And then we can just take the level and multiplication with the F height, like that. So now we have F height, and we have it here, but we get an error, and that is because we have a small h. So if I change this to a high h instead, update dependencies, you can see that now is went up 4 meters, 4 meters, if the level is 1. If it's 0, it's 0. If it's level 2 that we're going to, then the elevator is now 8 meters up in the air. So you can easily control the height by using this. Okay, so now we have done this, but the elevator is now going just directly to each floor, and we would like it to go really slow and not like this. So how should we do it in this case? Well, here we can use conditions. So we can add if statement, and we can also add so it goes in a good movement here. The speed we can also add as a custom property, so we can control that later on. So we can add new here, and then we change with the cogwheel again, and we change the property to speed this time. We can have the default of 0.2 or something like that. We can keep it to min max 1. We have that, and then we know we have speed as well. So now we have height, level, and speed. We can add that variable to our driver. So we right click, select edit driver, and then we press add input variable. And now we add in the end here something called speed, and that will also be for the cube. And in this case it will be the path that is called speed. And be careful, so you're using big letters when you should use big letters and small letters when you should use small letters. So now we have speed as well in here, but we can then think more, what should we do here? Because now we cannot just use level times F height, but we should use something else. What we can do is that we take and increase the position if it's have not reached the destination. So if I say that it should go to level 2, if level 2 have not been in the position of 8 meters, we are not there yet, then we just increase the Z a little amount. So we take away this and change it a bit. So what we can do right now is that we can say that the Z position right here should be increased if we don't have reached the level yet. So we can say that it should be that the amount that we should increase, that we can use the speed for. So we can just put in speed here. And now we come to, this is the result, this is what we want, but we need a condition. So we add an if. So now here we have an if. What should the if be? Well, it should be like this, that we have the location, but now we also need to add the height of the floor. So we have said that that should be 4 meters, and we should compare that with the level. So now it gets a bit complicated, but what we can do is put in a parenthesis and write that it should be the Z position. So we have what height it should be, but to get it to the level we need to take away the height of the floor, so we divide it by the height of the floor. So if it's, in this case I called it F height, I think, like this. And then we can put an end of the parenthesis, and if that's less than what we had said, like the level, then it should go up. And if it's not that, it should perhaps go down. So we can put in else and say that if it's not that, then it should go down. So in this case it be Z pos, and as we had in the beginning here, you can see it's a Z pos plus speed, so we set negative speed here, so minus speed. So here we have something. And now we can update and we don't get an error here. And if I now change this to level 0, for instance, it moved. But it didn't move so much, and it stopped there. And if I put it to level 7, it moved up. So if I put it to a lower number, like 0, then it goes down. If I put it to a higher number, it goes up. But it doesn't work so well, but it only happens when I put something in here. And that is the thing with a driver. It only updates when you change the values that you have in the driver. And right now we only have these values in here. So we need something to make this update until we have reached the floor. And one thing that we always can use is this timeline. So we can use the timeline as an engine. In this case, I'm not interested in the value that we have in the timeline. I'm just interested that this should be updated. So we can do a little tip here, a little thing that I know that could be hard to understand, but we do like this. So we have the condition here. If Z was divided by F height and less than level, so that is there. But then we can add an AND. So that means that we can have two conditions into this. So we can say that AND frame should be bigger than 0. That means that as soon as the frame, meaning this value here, is bigger than 0, it will then read, is this bigger than 0? So every time I change this, it will go in here and check, is this bigger than 0? And yes, it will always be bigger than 0, so it will always be true, but it will be activated when I press play. And now you can see something has happened with this elevator here. It's jumping up and down, and if I put level 4 or level 3, it goes down, and now it jumps up and down here. So it almost works. It's just that it doesn't work 100%. It works like 90%. We need to add even more information into this. But now you can see that this timeline here is almost like an engine. As long as that is working, we can then add information here where we would like to go. And if we put in a lower value in speed, like 0.1, you can see we get slower movement up and down, and we can then put it 2, and you can see my elevator is now going slowly down to level 2. So here we can control everything in a good way, but still we have some small jumping things here that I would like to get rid of. And that we can do by make a check. If we are close enough, then we don't have to do this up and down anymore. Then we just close it and say everything is fine, just stay there. So we do that by going to Edit Drive again. And right now this starts to get a bit small to read. So what we can do is go to Show in Driver Editor like this. And go to Drivers Set Location. And then we have this window here. And here we can expand that window. And when we expand that window, we can then see the formula here in its complete way, so we don't get this part of it just like we get in the menu. So what we needed more here is to check if something is close enough to what we would like to have as an end. So I can then write another AND here. So AND. And now how should we check this? Well, we have the level and we have the position, so those should be about the same. So if I put in like AND set pos divided by f height to get this calculation that calculated what level we should be in. And if I take and do like this, so I put parentheses on that and put this as negative or subtract with the level, then I can see if the value is really small. And to make it always positive, I can then just add an abs for absolute like this, and then put in a small value. So this is only valid, the movement, the speed that we have here. This is only valid if this is bigger than a certain amount. So let's say 0.05 or something like that. So if I put that in now, like that, and update my dependencies, I can close this one, you can see that this is now moving. No, it's not moving. It's standing completely still here. So we have to check a bit, what did I do wrong? Because we have an error here, as you can see. I take it in the drivers here, and now I increase this, and now you can see the complexity here. Now it's like programming. We have to check everything has been done correct or not. And you can see, as usual, I forgot that we should have a big H on F height. So if I put that in and then go down again, let's see, now you can see I don't get an error anymore. So hopefully we don't get that it jumps up and down so much. It does. We go down, and if I put this to 2, it still goes up and down. So we need to fix that. And that we do by saying that if we have reached the position, just keep the position. So we do another edit here. Now I go to Show in Drivers. I expand this, and we add even more in here. So I have now else setPos is less than else setPos is negative speed here, but I can add another if. So if you do like me and you just start and get everything away, just press escape and then you can click here again and everything should be okay. So let's see what we have here. We have checked if it's on the correct level. We have checked if it's close enough. We have checked that our engine is on. And if it's not, then we take the speed down. But we can also add another if. And here we can say that that this set pos negative speed should only happen if the set position, and now we need to add this height again, and I will try to get it with a big H so we get it correctly. If that is bigger than the level, because otherwise it will try all the time to get this here, but now we are stopping it and saying no, only if the position is bigger, then we still need to go down. Otherwise we should not go down. And we can even add even more, like if none of these conditions is okay, then just stand still. So then we can just add else it should be the set position. So if I just try to go through it, because now it's really complicated, then you can see that this is the result. If the result of what we have in height is less than the floor we want to go to, then we add so it goes up until it reaches the floor that we would like to be in. However, we don't want it to go up and down like this, so we add a check that if we take the position we have and the floor, if they are almost equal, then we don't do anything. But if it's too big, then we still need to move our elevator up a bit. And then we need this to be updated all the time, so we add in a frame, and that could be everywhere here, it doesn't matter, just so we have some information that is changing and then is calling on this expression. And in this case the frame is calling this when we are playing. So that is just like a security for getting updated all the time. But if not this is true, then we take down the speed, or we take down the position of the Z, because now we are going down to a floor that is lower than the elevator. But we only do that if the position already is higher than the floor. And if we have reached, so we have exactly the same position as the floor, then we can say stay as you are. So it's the set position. Really complicated, but as I said, this is a deep dive, and with this you hopefully learn a lot of stuff that you can use later on. So update dependencies, I do like this, now it stands still, and if I put in a level 0 here, it goes down to level 0 and it stands still, and if I put it to level 8, go up, hopefully it will then stay on level 8, so it goes up here to floor level 8, now it should hopefully stop soon, and there we stop. So it looks like our elevator works really great. And now I would like to have some floors here as well, so we can stop on those floors and we can have some information on them and so on. So I can just add a plane here, Shift A, Mesh, Plane, scale it up like 4 or something like that, and move it a bit forward, so G, X, no sorry, G, Y, so we have it right here. For instance, we can take the elevator to floor 0, can increase the speed a bit, 0.4 here. We would like it to be 0, the first floor, so now it went to this first floor, mostly so I can add the plane in a good way. So GY, move it here. So here is the ground floor, and I also would like to have some more floors, so I just do an array on this one. So go to the modifiers, add modifier, generate array, and put that away with relative, use a constant offset, set the set to 4 because we're using 4 as the level height, I think. So we need 10 of those, I think. Now we have everything. So if I now go back to my elevator, pressing the elevator here, go to the object, then we should have the custom properties. And if I go to 1 here, it only went up that amount. Level 2, that amount. Okay, let's see. We have a height of 4. We must have forgotten something. Or I have forgotten something. Because now it's the height of 1. Let's see here. If I put level 1, height, and put that to 4. So we have it like this. Now let's see, so we have everything correct. Then this should be on 4. It's on 3.9 and that is okay. But this is not on 4. So okay, so it's the array that is wrong. So I go back to my modifier and that is the scale. So Control A, apply scale. And now everything works. Okay, what a bit uncertain what I did there, but now everything works. So fine, we can go to the elevator again, go to object here, go to the custom properties, and if I change this to level 2, it goes up 1 and so on. Yes, so everything works. Now I would like to have some indications here on what level we have this elevator. So here we can see that you have a light here when it's in the lowest level, and then that light goes up like this when we are in the highest level. So I will create another plane. So I press Shift A, then I select Mesh Plane again, and I rotate that our X 90 degrees so we can see it, move it up a bit, G, Z, like that, and then I scale it. I can go a bit closer. So S, X, scale it like that. So S, Z, scale it like this. So we have some indicator that we can show people. And we move it here so it's visible. And then Control A to change all transformations here. So now we have something, and if I take our elevator to the first level or 0 level, then I can put this on the correct height as well so it looks nice. So G, Z, could be good to have it like that. And then we also add this on all the other floors, but that we can do later on. We just do the material first. So we select this one, and then I select new here, and now I would like this to be some indication of what floor we are at. And we can use driver as well here. So Shift A, input value, and we can add driver, and we can use this variable here. And what do we need? We need to know what level this is. So we need, of course, the level. So we go to single property, call this level, and we say that it's the cube, and in the cube we had a path that was called level. So we select the level here, and now we have that. And we can put level up here. And then we don't need a level. We need the set position. So, and we also need a height. So we can use the height here instead. So we put this to F height, and we put this to F height here as well. And then we need a position of where we are right now. So we add a transform channel. We call this ZPOS, and it should be for the cube, and it should be the Z location. So we have those two. And all we need now is to put the set position and the f height here, like this, and update dependencies. And then we get 0.1 or 0.2 or so, depending on where we are here. But you can see it's 0.025, and if I go click on this here and select level 1, so we go up one floor, and I go back to my material here, you can see it's 0.975, so it's not perfect. So we need to round it as well. So I go to Edit Driver, and then I put in a round before this. Round, like this. And update dependencies, and now it's 1, because we have this on level 1. So now it works. So if I select this and go say that I will go to level 6, then the elevator goes up to level 6, and if I look at my material down here, you can see we are at level 6. So this will give the information to where we are, and that is really good, because then we can just use that in combination with separate X. So I press Shift A here, go to Input, texture coordinate, take the UV, separate X, as I said, XYZ, which means that if I now go there to the base color, go closely, you can see it gets darker here, it gets brighter here. And this will then change from 1 or from 0 to 9, but we will not use that because it's easier to use 0 to 1. So we can just divide it by 10. We can do it inside our driver. We can also do it outside. So I can put in divide here by 10. So we have it like this. And then we have a value from 0 to 1. And we can use that together with this value that also is between 0 and 1. But I would like this to have steps of 0 to 1. So we have when it's 0 to 1 here, then it's on level 1. When it's 0 to 0.2, it's on level 2. And I will do the same here, and I can do that with a snap. So if I add a snap here and put in a value of 0.1 and put that to the base color, you can now see, I can think that it's really easier to see in Eevee. So I go to Eevee. Yes, here you can then see that it's divided into squares here that we then can use. So everything will work in Eevee and it will work in cycles, doesn't matter in this case. So now we only need to check if this value here and that value here is equal, and that we can do with the compare. So Shift A, converter, math, put it in here, put that in here, but we change this to compare, put it to 0. And right now you can see this is then lit here, meaning that this elevator is rather high up. If I put the elevator a little bit lower, so I take this elevator, go to Object, and I can zoom in here so you see it. And I say that this should be on level 0. You can see it then goes down, and now it's there. So all we have to do is add some emission here so we can see when it goes up and down. So if I select this material, I just put this to emission, put in some strength. So I do multiply. We can say we increase this with 20 and put that to the strength and put this color to some yellow or something like that. So we have it like this. Then that works fine. And now all I have to do is to make an array of this. So I go to the modifier, add modifier, generate an array, and in the same way as before, I take away the relative, select the constant, change this to 4 and change the first one to 0, and say that we need 10 of these. So now when you're standing on a floor, you know exactly where the elevator are. So if I check the elevator, go to my object and change what level I would like to be, like 4 for instance, you can see that I automatically get, now I am at level 4. So this is how you can use drivers. Now we used a lot of drivers in different ways, by using the frame or using some Z position or using some custom properties and so on. And we got this driver here, or this elevator here. And you can, of course, if you want to build, but I will not do it in this tutorial, if you will build this really advanced, you can of course put the doors here, and then when you have reached the level, the doors should open automatically. And you can use that bone, for instance, to make them go on different directions, or you can just transform by moving them using an X direction, for instance. So there is a lot of information you can add into this, or using the distance. So when this elevator comes close to, let's say, a light, that light will be turned on automatically as soon as this is a few meters from that, by using, as I said, the distance between objects. And I can just show you very simple before I end this tutorial. So Shift A, and I add a cube. That will be my light here. So I move that up here, for instance. Will not do something advanced. So just GY, put it in here so we have it. And in this cube, I can stop this. So we are in object mode. Should see this is transparent. Why is this transparent? Because it's an empty. Okay, so take it away again. Shift A, go to mesh instead. Cube. Now I should have a non-transparent cube. Yes. So take it up like this, and then GY. Yeah, so we have it. It doesn't matter where I put it. It's just to show you something. So I will use that this will have an emission if it's close enough to the elevator. So I create a new material here, and in this I will add a driver. So Shift A, input value, and my driver will work like this, that I first add driver, and in my driver I add a variable here that is distance. So I select distance, and the first object should be my elevator, and that is my cube. And then I added the other cube, so that will be cube 001. And then you can see right now we have a value of 12.360. So that means that I'm 12 point this value between the cube and the elevator. So I can just put in here that it should be 1 if var, because that is what we call right now the variable, is less than, let's say, 6, else 0. And then we can update this, and hopefully no errors. So right now it's 0, and then we can just multiply this, and put in a high value, like 10 for instance, and put that to our emission here. So put that to the strength here. And if I now start this again, and I go to my elevator and go to my object, because that is what my custom properties say, and then say this should go to level 2, it goes down to level 2, and it doesn't do anything with my cube. And if I go to level 1, it doesn't do anything with my cube. So let's look at this one and see how it is right now, because now we have them really close to each other. So I go to my edit driver. It's just outside of 6, so all I have to do is move this a bit. So GY. Now it should work. So if I now take my elevator up again, level 3 for instance, you can see it then turns off. And if I put it to 0, it turns on and off when I go through it. So that was another explanation of how you can use drivers and distance by combining different objects and then finding out the distance. Now I will not talk anymore, because I have used a complete hour to explain drivers for you. Hopefully I've learned something about them, and I will show something new next time. So I say bye for now, and see you then.